afternoon, everybody. Now, how much do you know about commissioners? Do you know that we're having elections in November? Hands up, come on. Oh, shall I go home now, madam? I mean, that's it. Thank goodness for that. Well, we may have got 9 months to go, but there's an awful lot of work to do. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great privilege to be here this afternoon because I'm actually standing in for the chair of the APA, Mark Burns-Williams, who has this morning been to see Her Majesty at the Palace to receive his OBE, so well deserved. He's worked so hard at the APA and his locality. So I want you to give me a round of applause for me to take back to him to congratulate him. Come on, please. That's better. Thank you so very much. I've just been to another conference somewhere else, and I have to say, madam, it is a little bit brighter in here. Where I went to before, it was so dull. I was second on, and everybody was going to sleep, and we were only at 11 o'clock. You all look a lot brighter than what I've been to, and it was becoming a good conference anyway. And obviously, you've obviously had your lunch. That's a good idea. It all makes life better. As you rightly say, I am Vice Chair of the APA, but I'm also still Vice Chairman of the West Midlands, of which I was also Chair for quite a few years, and that's always very helpful to have had that position, 6 years in fact, and it's a very interesting position to have been in. I'm sorry, I have just been given a quick list of delegates, so I don't know, I've got leaders and things here. Yes, I've got quite a few VIPs. Gosh, lots of people probably know a great deal more than I. Right, the only thing is, please, Your Ladyship, just how long have I got? I can't just...
You have got now 10 minutes.
Right. Okay, so we've chucked up. Well, I've just been to one that I had half an hour, so I'm going to have to try and précis these things a little bit. But it's all available, of course. You can get a copy of what I should have been saying if I haven't said it. Where we're coming from, really, I think, first of all, I just want to say, and I know the Baroness would agree with me, what a wonderful job police authorities have done. They have been absolutely brilliant, and many of us are sorry to see their demise, but they've gone. That's it, or they're on their way out, and now we must work and go forward to organise and get the efficiency and effectiveness that we've already presented through our authorities, and I think John's done a jolly good job. I mean, the statistics are there, and it has shown that we have been absolutely brilliant as police authorities. We have, in fact, the authorities cost less than 0.5% of the police budgets over the years, which is pretty fantastic. And when Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary stated over the last 10 years, forces and authorities have delivered efficiency improvements to meet government targets between 2004 and 2008, forces and authorities declared just over 1.5 billion of efficiency improvements, 1.5 billion improvements against the government target at the time of just over $1 billion. That really says it all as to how hard we were and have been working. There is no doubt that we have worked extremely hard, and there's no doubt we've had record falls in crime. And I think also that crime, as we know, should always be lower, and we have played a part in delivering some quite remarkable falls. One's chances today of being a victim of crime are at their lowest level since 1981. And I am assured by our colleagues across the council chamber that tell me crime has fallen 43% under the last government. Some people might be pleased to hear that, and let's hope it's going to continue. But we've assisted in delivering rising public trust and satisfaction in policing. Public confidence is now over 60%. The findings of the last British Crime Survey in January revealed that 57% of people agreed that the police and local council were dealing with the crime and antisocial behaviour issues that matter in the area, were up from 52% in the previous year, and the proportion of people who thought that policing in their local area and good thought they were good or excellent. So that's jolly good news too. So we have undoubtedly been doing extremely well throughout the country. But very quickly, I want just to move on a little bit on PCCs. Have I got a... I'm not getting overheads, am I? Am I? Right. Where are we going to next, then? Do you want me to do the bit about how they become P? That was what I was thinking. Yes, your country needs to. Well, 3 cheers for John Prescott, don't you think? Let's be honest, madam. He has raised the profile. And my daughter has just had a baby a few days ago, so I'm a frightfully proud granny. And she would say to you, 9 months is a long time. So we've still got, as I said, 9 months to work on what we need to do and need to know. And there will be lots of groupings like this to go. So the PCCs can build on the strength of the police authority legacy. We've still got falling crime, rising public confidence in policing is good, and the police authorities have always been more diverse and more representatives of the population than any other branch of government. I just want to talk to you on that serious note, because it is an important one, I believe, in the way forward with the fact that we are going to have these 41 commissioners. It is a concern, certainly I work in the West Midlands, and no doubt quite a few of you in here, that the diversity representation that we do have at the moment is good. And I do hope that will continue. At the moment, a third of police authorities have got women on them, and 10% are drawn from the BME communities. So I do think that is an area where I keep bashing, and I hope that somehow that will be maintained, particularly in our cities, I think, Madam. It's so important where we do have diverse communities and where they should be representative. As I say, I have a half-an-hour speech in front of me, so I'm trying to praise it. Very quickly, maybe you'll be interested a little bit on where we are going with the candidates. I don't know how much you know about that, but I will give you a quick sort of review of people who can be candidates. They have to be 18 or over and registered to vote within the local policing area. And those disqualified from standing include the I've lost a piece of paper. Never mind, I've lost that one. Never mind. It's anybody really who's had a criminal done a criminal offence in the last few years, and then they obviously aren't allowed to stand. People from the House of Lords, of course, are allowed to stand, as are MPs, but they do have to step down, and of course, if they gain their, if they get in as a PCC, then of course there would be a by-election possibly in that area. And when it comes to the election, the other thing that, of course, as you all know now, it's November the 15th. A few days later, well, there'll be the handover. It really is, because there'll be a Saturday and Sunday in between, so it's only about 4 days. And I think most of you probably know that the staff at the existing police authorities are now doing great jobs, all the chief executives and treasurers and legal advisors. They really are working very, very hard indeed to make sure that the transition hopefully will go fairly well. And in the first instance, the commissioner, he or she, political or not political, but I just have to say with caution, I think inevitably they will be political. It's going to be quite difficult to get independence. We have got a few, and several people this morning were saying, you know, who's standing, who's standing. Well, the political parties, the large political parties, Labour, Liberal and Conservative, I know have extended at the moment to get more interest, and I hope by the end of March we shall have some idea as to who the candidates are going to be, and they will start sort of working towards their own campaigns, which of course will be in November. And I think what will be important really, and I'll try and wind up in a few moments, just to talk a little bit about what the community is going to expect for them. Well, they're going to expect them to be all things to all men, aren't they? They're going to expect them to have police officers on the doorstep. They're going to expect them to listen to them. They're also going to expect them to keep them informed, and they're going to expect them to try and certainly the local councils and people they work with are going to try and keep the monies down and not spend too much. Not an easy remit to take on. An awful lot of it, what we've been doing anyway on police authorities. But I think it is going to work out. I'm very buoyant and excited about it. Change I enjoy. As I say, I've just become a young granny. Well, I've just become a granny, and it's jolly exciting, and it's a change for me, particularly as I can pick him up and put him down, as they say. But the issues will come on the doorstep. Of course they will. The commissioners will come in with their own concerns. I think Boris came in, didn't he, in particular. He came in talking about wanting more police officers on the underground and so on. I think parties succeeded there. But they will come in hoping, I think, to provide a lot of reassurance to the communities that they're going to represent. I mean, the main issues, of course, when we ask and when we do these surveys are, of course, gun and knife crime, property crime, tackling gangs, and, of course, above all, antisocial behaviour. So if I'm almost up to my time, maybe I can just finish by saying I mentioned antisocial behaviour, where I think and where we were told by, you can help me out here, Mum, the guy from America who came from New York, Bratton? Bill Bratton, thank you. We had breakfast or something with him, didn't we? And he came over, and he's famous because I think he brought something like 40% of crime down in that area in New York. He's actually been the chief commissioner of police, I think, in 2 or 3 big areas. But that was why he has been brought over to talk to us. And what he was saying was the police can't do it on their own. They must work with partners. And that is what our commissioners are going to have to do. They will not be able to do it alone. They will probably think so, man or woman or whatever, but at the end of the day, they are going to have to work with the partners in our areas, and I guess we've got quite a few people here from health and other areas, and I'm an ex-nurse myself, and I more than understand sometimes in the health service I get upset because it isn't always good as I would wish, but in the same way in policing, which is so dear to everybody's heart. So when it comes to November the 15th, I think we will actually probably get a better turnout than one would imagine in those months of November, which are pretty dark and dull. But because our community care, I think we'll get the people out there. And I think, as Bill Bratton said, we may end up with some very, very interesting commissioners. I hope that was a whistle stop.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
Diana, would you be willing to take a couple of questions?
Oh, yes, I've got Nathan to help me.
Yes, stand here. Could you stay at the podium?
Sorry. You have?
I have, yes,
Good.
but I don't know whether I've been selected, but who knows. But my question to you is, how effective do you think the police and crime panels will be?
Somebody else at the PRIC conference I've just been to was doing that this afternoon. I actually think, because of course they're going to be scrutiny, as you probably all know, they actually are going to be the panel, they will hold the commissioner to account. Right, he will hold the chief constable account, but he actually does have to put the budget through the scrutiny board, and he does have to put the panel, and he also does have to put the policing plan. They do have to work together, and I would like to think that, because you know they can be up to 20 people, I think, of which at least 12 are going to be councillors, and then there's going to be 2 independents. Again, a sore point with some of us. We'd like to have seen a bit more of that. We don't know because there's still space to put more people on. So what I would say to you, I'm cabinet lead in my own authority in Solihull. And at the beginning of last year, when we were talking about this, after doing 14 years of police authorities, my leader sort of assumed that I would be on the panel. Well, actually, no. It will be the leader, it will be the person that's going to go on the panel is the leader of our scrutiny board, our community safety community board. So that's where we'll go. So how effective it's going to be, I think in the end they're going to be becoming very effective. I think what we're looking for is what's happening in between the commissioner and the panel, what the panel, the commissioners are going to have around them. And Nick Herbert, as you probably know, is constantly saying, and of course the Home Sec, that, you know, they will have their own domains and do it their way. But even so, just remember, when they come in as commissioners, just in the same way as chairs and police authorities have, over the last few years have run and supported the policing, they will still have the national guide. They will still have governments of the day telling them what they want in policing. So there'll be a certain amount of mandate that we'll have to go with. But I think they will. I think they will. I think I certainly would do if I was going to be there. I don't think I am, but well, I might get demoted indirectly. Yes.
And the last question.
Thank you. John Cook out of Lincolnshire. I would like to ask one question of you, if I may, and it's supplementary to the one that's just been asked. What power are the PCPs going to have?
What power?
What power?
The PCP?
Yes, they can govern, they can take on governance, but what power are they going to have?
Well, the power is pretty strong. They'll have a very large budget, depending on which area they're in. Yeah. Oh, I thought you said I thought you said PCC. The panel. No. Well, you're quite right. There's scrutiny. It's not the power, though. Is if they're not happy with him, they can report into the IPCC and things like that. But that's, you know, that it is a scrutiny board. So the answer, and I have just said, if I may say so, and I imagine you're feeling the same as I do, what's happening, what will be around a bit stronger that will have power besides the commissioner. The commissioner himself or herself will have very great powers. So the answer to the question is not an awful lot, because they're a scrutiny board. But if they still have to scrutinise, as I keep saying, as we have done on police, the budget and the plans and so on, they've got to do all that sort of thing. So they still have a certain amount. I mean, I would have thought a good commissioner will take note of his or her panel. I would have hoped.
But you're quite right. They don't have very much power. No. Two-thirds. They have to have two-thirds of the panel to kick anything out that the PCC decides on the budget and on the choice of a chief constable. I think that's right.
Yes.
If I remember.
Could I just ask, therefore, if they have to then go to a referendum?
That's a very good question.
Yes, I was asked it this morning.
Yes, I don't know that we dealt with that.
No,
in the
you
bill.
don't.
In the bill?
The
No.
commissioner is, because the commissioner is elected for 4 years come November. And then after the 4 years, he or she can be re-elected, but then go back to the spring, like we have our local elections and other elections normally, and it will go back to that. As you well know, this time last year, you were going to have the elections in a few weeks' time. And the government and the coalition decided to give an extension. I think the Baroness might have had something to do with that. But anyway, but actually in the end, I think we needed more time to look at it. And that's what we're still doing, aren't we? I mean, this morning I was pleased, and I'm very pleased, ladies and gentlemen, to see obviously this, people in this room, and I'm sure you are, ma'am. You know, it is pleasing to see that more and more people know about it. But I mean, I'm just, even in my own authority and officers, I think they just think commissioners are going to be shipped in, and I'm saying, no, they're going to be voted for. And I won't go into the voting process, but that is going to be slightly different, as you probably know, because you will have 2 votes. And then if they're not, if one isn't much larger than the other, then the second and the third will be sort of added up. But I don't want to go down there. Nathan's spelling at my office here. I better be careful. But that will all come out and will be explained. But so the answer to your question really is, it's as much as I think their relationship is going to be with the commissioner in the same way as how well the commissioner gets on with the chief constable.
Yeah, my point was around PCP.
Yeah.
My understanding is that the PCP, whilst I understand the scrutiny, can on the budget, if they disagree, can, I believe, go to referendum. I would like to have some clarity.
Well, I have to say I don't know.
We can get the definitive
We've got a chief
answer.
executive in here, and I'd have the answer. do you know the answer? Yes, thank
Is
you,
it-
ma'am. Yes, you do,
Oh.
don't you? Thank you.
Jenny.
Jane, can you have a quick answer? That we've got a chief executive, which is great in the room. Will you just tell them? Because I should. I mean, I can't. I really don't know.
Hi,
anything.
thanks, Diana.
Thank you.
Jenny
Thank you
Douglas
very much.
Todd, Chief Executive of Hampshire Police Authority.
Yes.
Yes, it is a 2/3 veto in relation to the budget and the appointment of the Chief Constable. You're right, if they choose to go to the veto, they can then call a referendum. The issue around how that will work, though, I think is still being sorted out because, as you know, referendums cost. And I don't think it's quite clear, unless Nathan's got other information, where the cost of that referendum would fall.
Yeah, Jenny's absolutely right. There is
Jason,
a further complication.
Would you tell people who you are?
Certainly, sorry. Nathan Only from the APA Secretariat. And lead on the public affairs and some of the bill stuff. So there was a lot of debate in Parliament, as many of you will know, on the mechanics of the referendum. And ultimately, our understanding is that there is a disconnect between the localism bill, which gives an automatic power of a referendum where there's an excessive precept, and the police precept, the implications for the police precept. Essentially, the Home Secretary will, our understanding is, still make the ultimate decision as to whether there is to be a referendum or not. It will come down to the Home Secretary ultimately making her judgment, her or his judgment. A number of Conservative MPs actually rebelled on that and tried to change the bill so that the panel could literally say this policing budget is unacceptable, it's too much or too little, and the panel should then have the power to call a referendum automatically. The government resisted that and have essentially held a reserve power, no doubt because, as Jenny said, that the prospect of endless referendums over policing precepts would just add enormous costs and would cause complete chaos, obviously, for planning purposes. So ultimately the Home Sec has got the backstop power to say yes or no.
And funding
coffee. End of little discussion at the front.